Hi, I am CJ Devgan, and welcome to another edition of Breaking Barriers, where my goal is to provide you with proven tools to help you transform your business. We are living in times where business, as usual, is not sustainable. Because new disruptors are arriving every day, therefore, you too must reinvent and break barriers that are holding you back. If you are struggling to grow your business, check out my website at cjdevgan.com and learn about my consulting and coaching services, and let's talk. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring episode in our series of how to transform your organization. Our guest today is Ghalib Kassam from sunny California. He is the Chief Information Officer and Executive Vice President for LA Times. Prior to this, he has held multiple senior executive roles for companies such as Tribune Publishing and Computer Sciences Corporation. Without further ado, let me welcome Ghalib. Hi, Ghalib. Are you still there?
I am.
Excellent. So I'm in Toronto. It's muggy outside, cannot see a single shade of light.
Well, unfortunately, Southern California is not what we expect it to be, as we normally do. It is actually raining.
Oh, wow.
It is raining, and quite frankly, a very welcome rain, considering we are constantly struggling with beautiful sunshine at 70 and 80 degrees every single day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been in LA when it rains, and it actually every building starts to seep. And they say it's not pretty when it is raining in LA. What is your experience?
It's not pretty when it's raining. You know, unfortunately, Los Angeles drivers believe it's normal driving when it rains, and unfortunately, the first round of rains causes the roads to be very slick, and invariably, lots of accidents, and our traffic gets worse than it normally is.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so I don't want to take too much time away from our main subject. So transformation, and I know you have been part of this industry for close to a couple of decades, if not 3 decades. And you have your shares of experiences in helping organizations transform. So if you want to share some of your experiences, what kind of transformations you have done for what kind of companies or industries, and some of the best practices that you have used.
Sure. Transformation or technology transformation historically has come in a variety of shapes and forms. As you know, transformation typically comes from some, key, focus or function, some compelling event. A company either is trying to change its revenue cycle, it's been acquired, there's been a divestiture, some major event that, basically starts off some sort of a transformation. And invariably, more often than not, it requires significant amounts of change management, org change, human resources involvement. It's really not just a technology transformation initiative. It really needs to involve the entire company in some way, shape, or form. Huge distraction tends to be, it's not to be taken very lightly. As you know, we've worked on a couple together. These things are no small endeavor.
So what defines success? So what are the key factors that contribute to a program project in your mind?
Well, so I think the number one thing is making sure there's an absolute clear understanding of what the outcome is that you're trying to get after. What is the objective? Why is it a transformation? What was the transformation event? And then who are specifically the beneficiaries, the sponsors? What outcome are we expecting? And then really work with those individuals. And they tend to be right at the C-level. That are looking for a specific objective. And then how do you actually go after key business units and get their sponsorship and support in order to craft a solution that, setting expectations as well. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Being very clear, very crisp about the longevity of these types of things and breaking it up into fundamental phases, if you will, so that they're in bite-sized pieces so that you can, yield the benefit, if at all possible. And then again, it also is a function of, is there enough support and sponsorship who can, in fact, relieve themselves of their day jobs in some cases? I mean, it really is a very different way of how you, perceive the outcome.
So a couple of things you mentioned, absolutely right on. Have to have a clear vision of why we are doing this transformation, have quick wins, break project into bite sizes, absolutely right on, and then it is a long-term initiative. It is not something short-term, so be prepared. And then the last, but not the least, is managing organizational change and changing behaviors and attitudes of your company. Now, this is the area which is one of the most troublesome in my experience, and I want to get your insight into what kind of techniques have you used to get these behavioral changes or organizational changes instituted.
So this needs to be very carefully orchestrated. Organizational change is not a capability that your average person has. It really requires significant involvement from people that are specialists in this area. It really, delves down into the core of human personality and human characteristics, and it's really down to the people person. This is not a quick fix with technology. You can't buy a solution. You really have to develop a program complete with communications, complete with training, complete with clear vision and understanding for every employee of what does this truly mean. Transparency is absolutely key to the extent that you can. Transformations, depending on the nature of the transformation, the type of transformation, if there's a revenue ask or a cost-cutting measure, then clearly there'll be actions taken that won't be very popular. But being upfront about it and formulating that as part of an overall campaign that people can actually line up behind.
Excellent points. So yeah, we have seen these things in past. Communication. As much communication you can do is less. Transparency, absolutely right on that point as well. And hard decisions that needs to be made. And it is always good to be transparent, be open, and create forums for people to be able to express themselves. A key. And the last, again, training people for the new skills that they need. That's always one of the most biggest worries that people have, is that they're going to be coming in and processes around them will be changing, the technology around them will be changing, and they will not be able to do their jobs, and then the job securities become a worrisome thing, and they've all become part of the resistance that organizations need to deal with when they are talking about organizational change. So I want to spend a couple of more minutes on this topic because this is the most important topic in my mind. Selecting a technology, funding a technology is easy, but getting people to adopt that technology is one of the most difficult things. And the roles that that communication plays in getting this thing. So, what kind of communication tools or mediums have you used? How do you engage people at all levels of your organization? Some practical tips that you can provide to our listeners.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to change management and organizational change, first and foremost, it is categorically a known given concept that change is not easy. Change is difficult to adopt and accept in everyday life, not even just at work or not even just in technology, introducing new technology. People have their favorites and are allergic to taking on something new. But being, putting an overall campaign together, and a campaign, in my estimation, is really a comprehensive set of tools, capabilities, and support. When I say support, I'm talking about support right from the very top. Town halls, meetings, one-on-ones, small coffee breaks where you can meet with some of the senior executives, and just mingling with those folks so that they know that they are actually there, they're real humans, they're participating, and having them explain why they're doing what they're doing, good or bad, indifferent, whatever it is, but making them part of the solution, not part of the problem. People just want to know. They don't like surprises. And, at least making them aware, laying out a roadmap that says, here's what we're going to do in the next 12 to 18 months. And then, give them periodic updates. And if there's changes to that roadmap, be upfront about it. Let them know early and often. And, be crisp and very clear.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So key takeaways is communicate using town halls, coffee breaks, explain to people what they are doing, why they're doing, and most importantly, be clear and crisp. So when you finish your conversation with them and you ask them, what are we doing, why are we doing, they can reply back with the same understanding that we have.
Yeah, I think also to add, just to add to that, one of the things that, also tends to help is giving them a voice, right? If you give the employee base a voice, even if it's anonymous or, known, give them an opportunity to provide tips and tricks and recommendations on, what things seem to work, what things don't seem to work, and help them be part of the solution. You'll get a much better adoption, a much better, commitment from the general population, so that you are in fact being inclusive, as opposed to, you can easily go off and hire some of the big names out in the markets today. I'm sure everybody on the podcast understands who I'm talking about, but there are some hatchet companies out there that will come in there with a boilerplate solution, which may not necessarily be the most effective.
Excellent point. Be inclusive, give people voice, and have a feedback loop. So these are excellent points, and I'm sure will help all our listeners who are either in a change management initiative or maybe looking at a change management initiative. Going back to the original topic of transformation, and as we all understand, the transformation initiative, it's a portfolio of projects. It's not one project, one program. It's a series of interrelated projects. What I would like to gain from you and your insight as to what kind of tips can you provide to our audience in terms of how to prioritize your project and how to say, given we live in the world of constraints, which is the right project to do? Because a lot of time projects get selected by squeaky wheels, people who know friends. So how can you be objective when you are creating that portfolio for your transformation as to which is the right project to take on?
That's a great question. So transformations tend to be, as you point out, a collection of projects or programs and multiple programs. My experience tells me having a strong enterprise program management office that is complete with product managers, business relationship managers, BAs, and strong PMs, and focusing on the core principles behind that in running programs, which, I'm sure is a separate topic on and of itself. But having that, ensuring that you have a common place for all change in scope, communications, financial reporting, progress, completions, all those kinds of things, percent completes. But when it comes back to which programs should be elevated, which programs should be funded, which programs should be given green light, is really a function of what is the best outcome from a ROI perspective. What is the best outcome? Every program, every project needs to have an outcome that is measurable. My experience tells me in the last many years, we don't do a very good job of going back at the end of a completed program to go back and assess when we did the scope and we did the ROI and we did the financial outcomes that we expect to hit. How often do we really go back and measure that and say, did we actually hit the 4%, 10%, 7% ROI that we said we were going to come back with, or raise revenue by X percent or X millions? Did we ever achieve that? And so I think prioritizing these initiatives really comes from which of them meets the core initiatives, corporate initiatives. Invariably, once a year, the CEO of a company will undoubtedly come up with strategic initiatives for the company for their first year to 3 years. Every project, program, initiative must line up some way, shape, or form to those strategic initiatives. So if you're working on a program or project that has funding tied to it, that doesn't have a line of sight to those specific initiatives, you're probably working on the wrong stuff.
Absolutely right on. Absolutely right on. So key takeaway for our audience here is that all your projects must align with your strategic goals and should be able to explain how they will deliver them. And second point, which is very important, is that you must have a benefit realization processes in place. So you can go back and not only go back after the project is done, but even during the progress of that plan, progress of that project, at every phase of the project, at the end of every phase of the project, say, are we still on track to deliver the benefits that were promised to me as part of the business case? And at any point in time, those benefits are not in line, then do we need to tweak our plan? Do we need to change the scope of our plan? Or do we even need to abandon the plan? Those are the kind of conversations that are to be happening during those gate reviews. Thank you, Ghalib, for your time. I can continue having such a scintillating conversation with you. I don't feel like hanging up, but I do have to be cognizant of the fact that you have a full-time job that you need to attend to. And I'm hoping that it is as informative for our audience as it has been for me.
Thanks very much for the opportunity. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Ghalib. Thanks.
That is it for today. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you and help out in any way I can. You can reach me at cjdevgan.com. If you like our show, please subscribe, leave a rating and a review for us. Let's go out and break barriers and generate new possibilities. Until next time, adios, ciao, and goodbye.